the biggest postural anomaly really is what we call the head forward posture. So the head forward posture is when the head rests in front of the neck. And you know that because you can use your earlobe as a guide to where the head is aligned in relation to the point of the shoulder, actually. So you want to feel like those two structures are in alignment with one another. And for the most part, that doesn't feel natural or normal. And that's if you stood with your feet just a little away from the wall. So let's come now, and hopefully by the end of our session, when we stand up against the wall, it just feels a little bit more accessible. So we're going to start with our patting, and the orientation of the head and neck is really important. And we probably might notice that a lot of older people find themselves a bit more rounded over, you know, and that's really in response to the gravitational forces on the body. And let's go squeeze next, so that you've taken a hold of the muscle tissue. And the wonderful thing about this is that your muscles don't know it's you massaging them, so you can feel the benefits of doing this. And I'm squeezing the muscles all the way down my arm to the hand, squeezing even onto the hand. The hand has a huge representation in this, in the sensory cortex. And then we're going to brush down on the back of you and on the front of you. Brush off all the way up the fingertips. If you've got a watch, obviously that sometimes gets in the way, right onto the shoulder blade. And then relax and release. And you really notice a difference from side to side. So we'll do the other side. I certainly do anyway. And, you know, this is a really brief intervention that you can bring into your day, particularly if you're stressed or you've been doing a lot of desk work, even a lot of driving. Right? Give yourself a pat. Back of the hand in the front of the hand. I'm going down the outside, up, ideally up the inside. And wonderful. So let's do our massage on this side and give those muscles a good squeeze. And then all the way down the arm, back of the arm, and front of the arm. Even to the hand, and then brushing off the arm, all the way up the back of the arm to the front of the arm, just very briefly. And so, of course, you could do this for a little bit longer in the morning while your kettle's boiling, say, have a rest. And so let's just do some neck range of motion, which we don't normally do a lot of in Pilates. So I'm turning my head, look over the shoulder. Turning my head, look over the shoulder. Keep the chin parallel with the ground, and as much as possible, the orientation of the head is aligned, the back of the head in line with the back of you. The tailbone to the ground, the knees just unlocked. And turning to look over the shoulder and keep the chin parallel, so you don't want to feel like you're tilting the head, particularly at the end of the range of motion. And when you do a few, you might feel like you can go a bit further. So I'm nodding my chin to my chest now, and then tilting the ear towards the shoulder, so that you feel this quite high up towards the top of the neck, the base of the skull, tilting, and keep the rest of you lovely and still. And you've got your chin to your chest, remember. So the chin to the chest, tilting the ear. Now look ahead of you, and turn your head over your shoulder, and you'll feel like that can go further, most likely. So with the head in the mid position now, tilting the ear towards the shoulder, and at the same time a sense of reaching the fingertips away from you, and then the other way, reaching away. Very good. So nod the chin to the chest. And then we're going to take a hold of the upper trapezius. So I'm bringing my hands onto the trapezius muscles and then lowering the elbows. And while I do that, my fingers are dragging forwards on the tissues. And you might want to do this more on your actual skin inside your clothing. And so I'm dragging forwards on those tissues. And at the same time, I'm allowing the head to look towards the ceiling, and then do that again. So especially for me, because I've just not long moisturized, my hands are slipping a little bit forwards, and it probably would be better if there was a bit more traction on the skin. That's it, good. So just one more time, turn, look over the shoulder. And then last of all, retraction is the movement where the chin is traveling horizontally and the back of the head is moving inwards or towards the back of the body. The chin is moving inwards, the back of the head towards the back of the body. It's not a huge movement, and the thing that you don't want to do is to poke forwards. So it's really a question of taking the chin in and back, and then just allowing the head and neck to come back to a relaxed, more relaxed position, drawing the chin in and back, and then release and relax. So come back to the center, and it's really common for the neck to become weaker with the passage of time. And when we ever do our lying on the back exercises, if ever you're lifting your head away, lots and lots of people are complaining about discomfort in the front of the neck. So we can do isometric muscle strengthening exercises by pressing the hand into the head. And so here, when I push my hand, I'm keeping my head really still and resisting that those forces. So you've got side flexion, and like resisting side flexion, and like all these things, you would do repetitions. So you might hold 2, 3, release and relax, and again hold 2, 3, release and relax. Now swap sides, and of course it is very important that if you have any pain or discomfort, you never do anything that pushes you into pain when you're working in these sessions with me, because pain is a warning, and do that again. So your head's just staying still. So we can push on the forehead. It's as if I'm pushing my head backwards, but keeping it still. And when you do that, do keep the chin in and parallel with the ground, pushing inwards. And release and relax. And then you can do the same thing with the hands in the back of your head. So I'm pushing now the back of my head into my hands and not moving my head at all. It's just pressing, pressing, pressing. Now this is a good one. You can do this in a car when you're driving along, chin parallel with the ground, and pressing back into the headrest. And if we think the extensors are the muscles that hold us up. Now you can do rotation as well, which is a slightly more complicated affair. But if you think I'm turning towards what is your left, and I've got the left arm at the front and the right hand at the back of my head. So then I can do a rotational force, keeping the head still with my hands. So when I say at the front, it's at the front side, and the other's at the back side. Yeah, more near the back, more near the front. And then you're turning towards the front hand. Turning towards the front hand, and it's a bit like you're squashing your head to keep it still. And then the same thing the other way, turning the other way. You could even look your eyes, if you remember that rotation, look in the eyes and keeping the head really still. So have a rest for a second, but don't move your head. So your head stays in the middle, the arms move, and you do not move your head at all. That's isometrics. Perfect. All right, so let's take a rubber band and put it under I've got the loop band under the sole of one foot. You could use your long band if you don't have loops under the sole of the foot. So I'm strengthening the upper trapezius with this, shrugging the shoulders. And breathe out as you lift, breathe in as you lower. Now, think about that ideal postural alignment. There are sports where participants would be training the neck muscles. Think of rugby players, for instance. They train the neck muscles to be really strong. And boxers, similarly. I think it's pretty obvious why they're doing that. Now, circle the shoulder. But neck pain is really not very nice at all. And so all of these kinds of things can help us to stay away from pain. That's the goal. Set the shoulder blade on the back of you and then bend to the side of the room and come back to the center. Bend to the side and back to the center. So on the way down, we're resisting the pull of the band, and on the way up, using the muscles at the waist concentrically to return to the vertical. And one more. Wonderful. All right, so let's swap legs, swap feet, and do that on the other side, elevating the shoulder. So the neck muscles could be described in a similar fashion to the core muscles related to the spine and the pelvis. So we can talk about the core of the neck. We've got deep muscles that stabilize the neck from the front in the same way that we've got deep muscles that stabilize the spine from the front, and then circle the shoulder. And we've got superficial muscles, which are the moving muscles, in the same way that we have moving muscles in the spine, the obliques, the rectus abdominis, and the extensors. So we've got a similar kind of arrangement, and the neck, the same as the lumbar spine, the neck is vulnerable in the front of the convexity. In the front of the convexity of the curve. And then let's go to the side. And so it's strengthening the deep muscles that lie anterior in the front of the neck, in the same way that we strengthen the deep muscles that lie anterior in the front of the spine. Returning. Very good. Two more. And last one. All right. So let's take the band and pop it around the just below the wrists. So we're going to soften the knees, pull outwards into the band, and then the same thing on the other side. So as much as possible, we're keeping the elbows parallel. Sorry, not the elbows, the elbows at shoulder height and the upper arms parallel with the ground as much as possible. So watch out if you've got watches, pulling open and back. Now this is the light loop that I've got. As much as possible, try and keep your forearms parallel, so you don't want to feel like you're angling the forearm. That's it, very good. And then this time, 2 arms pulling outwards and in. And this time we're going up, down, out, in. And when I say down, it's not very far down. Out, in, up, down, out, in. So now clearly we are focusing much more on the shoulder. In, up, down, and in. And we'll come back to the deep core of the neck when we come to lie down. Up, down, and in. One more. Up, down, and in. Perfect. So let's take the band just above the knees for a second. And we'll do our tiptoe raises. Tiptoe raises. So a bit of range at the shoulder joints with our arm circles, lifting and lowering. And so lifting by leading with the thumb, that is the thumb uppermost, rotates the humeral head so it's in the optimal position for movement, and reduces the risk of impingement at the shoulder joint. So it's always worth having an idea of where your thumb is pointing when you are lifting your arms up, overhead in particular. Very good. And make this one the last one. We're going to do our squats next. Inhale and exhale. So I've got a little bit of energy pushing outwards into the band just above the knees. And you could use a medium band outside the legs, medium band on legs, and a lighter band when we're doing our arms. So folding at the hip joints, just allowing the arms to float. Again, I've got my thumbs pointing upwards. Breathe in as you go down. Breathe out as you come up. Two and one. Wonderful. So I'm taking my band in my hand again. And this time, arms out in front, soften the knees, our bow and arrow. Turning the head, turning the eyes. Thoracic rotation is really important for the function, optimal function of the head and the neck. And headlights facing forwards. Breathe out as you pull. Breathe in on the return. And really work to keep your headlights forward facing. So when you pull your left arm back, think of your left hip bone shining forwards. When you pull your right arm back, think of your right hip bone shining forwards. And when you pull the arm, think about the muscles around the shoulder blade. One more on each side. And last time. Perfect. So let's take the arms up overhead. And this time I'm pulling one hand down and up. So pulling it down and up. Clearly I'm holding one arm up against the resistance of the band, and I'm pulling one arm down. So you are thinking about the muscles at the back of the armpit as you pull down, and the raising arm. Remember, you can see that my shoulders are not hiking up around my ears as I'm doing this. So you've got that sense of the shoulder blade on the back of the body as you move. And two more. And one more. Very good. So this time I'm holding the arm down and doing a triceps extension with the top arm. So I'm bringing my back of my hand to my forehead and then extend down and up and down and up. And you may or may not know that I've been trying to fit in a lot of studying all about the shoulder since Christmas. And one thing that is showing up is that being stronger in and around the shoulder, the upper limb, is going to prevent pathologies, injuries. It goes a long way to optimizing the function of the shoulder and preventing injuries. And really, that's the business that I am in. So those muscles, there's no doubt you are feeling those muscles right now. So give your arms a bit of a rest. Good job. Guess what? You've got two arms. So now we're on the other side. Holding the arm up, pulling the arm down. And all the while, it's really crucial that we have this ideal alignment of the head and the neck so that the back of the head is in line with the back of you. And we're pulling down, thinking of the back of the armpit, pulling down. And of course, with ranges between you and yourself, breathe. Breathe as you move. And of course, our deep core in the front of the spine, the lumbar spine, is sit the whole time as we move in Pilates. Now I'm doing this top arm down and up. And I know we've spent a lot of time standing up so far, but repertoire that we do standing up is actually really accessible to pepper through your day if you hang a rubber band on the door handle and grab it and just do a few minutes of something strengthening wise. Very good. All right, so we're putting the band around the wrists again, and now I'm going to do a lunge kind of a position, a movement. So band around the outsides of the wrists. I'm making a fist. We're going to lunge forwards and extend the arms up overhead. So it's a forward lunge, arms up overhead. And you've got to step far enough forwards so that this lunge position, the knee is not going past the ends of the toes. And I really want you to squeeze your fists, not just have a limp fist. So you're coming down as you step back, down as you step back, up as you step forwards. So down, come back to shoulder height, and then step. That's it. Let's swap legs. So you reach and down. That's it. Reach and down. Reach and down. Pushing outwards into the band. Making a fist. Activating the rotator cuff more because of both of those things. That's it. 2 and 1. Wonderful. All right, let's roll down from the top. Feeling the spine away from the imaginary wall. Drop the top of the head to the ground. Let the head hang. Soften the knees. Breathe in at the bottom. Breathe out. Uncurl. Reset. And reset the shoulder blades. Do that one more time, and you're going to walk out onto all fours as you do this. Very good. To walk out onto all fours, and we're going to take the long band over the shoulder blades now. So I'm placing it over the back of the shoulder blades, holding the band between the thumb and forefinger, and taking the hands out onto the ground. So in this position, having the hands slightly ahead of your shoulders, think of 100 degrees of shoulder elevation in this position. And I'm going to sink down and then push away from the ground. So this is activating the muscles, stabilizing muscles of the scapula, and in particular a muscle called serratus anterior. So the back of the head in line with the back of you. Breathe out, breathe in as you move. And really notice that excursion of the scapula. And then come to be at the top of that movement. Now, with the head and neck, we're going to imagine there's a pencil between your hands. And I want you to look your eyes down the pencil from moving the neck from the base of the skull to the base of the neck. And then on the return journey, you're doing the opposite, so that you are re-stacking the neck from the base of the neck to the base of the skull. So the movement from the base of the skull to the base of the neck as you nod, looking down the pencil, and then the movement from the base of the neck, the base of the neck to the base of the skull as you look up. Now we can coordinate this with our cat. If we think of starting our cat from the top, so you're rounding as you look down along the pencil, and then we can take that movement all the way through to the tailbone, moving from the top. And as we sink into the hollow, think of re-stacking the spine from the tailbone end, and then last of all, the head and neck come into position. So nodding the chin down, looking the gaze along the pencil, rounding, lifting, arching, and lifting the belly button. And then on the return journey, this ripple of motion that starts from the sacrum and ends at the base of the skull. So we don't normally do it this way, but dysfunctional coordination of the movement of the neck is very common, and it's particularly common on the extension phase, that is the looking up the pencil phase. So it's really worth thinking about that sequencing. Wonderful. So let's come now and challenge the stabilizing muscles of the scapula by taking one leg away and making sure that we're never sinking down towards the ground. And as much as possible, we're not rocking from side to side, so that the stabilizing muscles of the lumbar spine and the pelvis will be acting to keep us lovely and still. And make sure to put your knee each time back underneath the hip joint. And so breathing as we move, bringing the oxygen to the working muscles, and never drooping down between the shoulder blades. And think of the back of the head lifted in line with the back of you. Now, what we could do as we do this is to take the band around the back of your head. So mine's quite a slippery one, so it's a bit difficult, but with some tension on the band around the back of your head, it's not going to work, is it? The rubber bands usually are a bit sort of tacky, and so they kind of stick on your hair. This one's very glossy and slidey, but I do like it. So the tension that you choose is between you and yourself, and you can see mine's pinning up. I've got another one that's a bit tackier. So you can put it around your hair. If it's tacky, it'll stay on your hair better. And just keeping the head still. So I'm not moving my head, but with that little bit of tension onto the band at the back of my neck, on the back of my head, my neck is having to work to stay still and not get pulled downwards. So this is an opportunity to isometrically strengthen the extensors of the neck. And but again, this may not suit your individual set of circumstances, in which case feel free not to do it. Have a rest. Wonderful. So we're coming up to kneel and in this lunge position. Foot is forwards on top of the band, knee directly underneath the hip joint, and lightly rest the hand to begin with. So we're pulling backwards, thinking about the muscles that lie in between the shoulder blades. Think of the elbow being higher than the wrist. Breathe out as you pull, breathe in on the return. So just taking the weight through the arms activates the stabilizing muscles of the scapula and the shoulder, the rotator cuff muscles. Breathe out as you pull. So we could hover the hand at hip height and pull the arm. Very good. That's it, good. So then let's change the hand hold. So I'm holding the band now with my thumb pointing more upwards. Well, there is no more upwards, just upwards. Arm out in front, and from this knee, I'm pulling on a diagonal line up and out. So a straight arm pull up and out. If you need to hold on to the hand. So this sometimes gets into the neck a bit. Adjust the tension to suit yourself. Breathe out as you pull, breathe in on the return. And we're keeping the pelvis lovely and still, the shoulders square and level. We're not lifting the ribs, hiking the ribs up as we pull the arms. So your ribs are stacked above the pelvis, pulling the arm. Wonderful. And have a rest. Let's swap legs. Do that on the other side. You'll get a rest. Resting on the knee to begin with, pulling the hand, the elbow higher than the hand, and this arm out in front of you. So breathe out, maybe up lovely and tall. That's it. So you really have thought about where the head is in alignment in relation to the spine. So the head on top of the neck. Have enough tension so that you feel the end of that movement, elbow high, like you're pulling on a lawnmower to get it started. That's it. Now change your hold so your thumb is upwards, and give yourself a bit more band as you do this, pulling up and out. So tension to suit yourself, pelvis square and level. Shoulders square and level. These muscles around the center are working to keep us still. And breathe out as you pull. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Good. One more. Very good. Perfect. Okay, let's come to lie on the front of the body, and I'm bringing my band across my shoulder blades again, and coming to rest in the W shape with my head on a thin support. So an inch or so underneath the forehead, arms in the W shape. And to begin with, you're just going to float the forehead away from the support. And think of your shoulders, your band hooking underneath your shoulder blades and the pubic bone into the ground and this extension of the upper back. So breathe out as you lift. hover, breathe in as you lower. Breathe out, reach, lengthen, hover, breathe in as you lower. So we are working the extensors of the neck, and these muscles hold us up against gravity. I mentioned before about the effects of gravitational forces on the head, and so it's really important for us to strengthen those muscles of the neck. And yet, I've yet to see somebody go to the gym really and do that. So breathe out, reach, lengthen, hover. Breathe in as you lower. Think upper back, upper back, upper back. Very good. And then the option is to come up and float the arms out to the sides in a T or an aeroplane. So you want to have that sense of holding an orange underneath your chin as you hover, not letting go of your orange and looking the eyes ahead of you. Hold onto your orange, reach, lengthen, hover. Breathe in on the return. And again, breathe out, reach, lengthen, hover. Chin is in, neck is long, in that T shape. And of course, those core muscles in the front of the abdomen, in the front of the lumbar spine, are switching on as we are in this position. They're never switching off entirely. And make this one the last one. Very good. All right, so rest in the forehead, bring the arms long beside you, and I'm holding my band shorter this time. I've got my thumbs facing outwards so that my palms are on top of the band, not underneath the band. And gathering up the shoulder blades, hovering the forehead, the breastbone, pulling outwards on the band as you do, and then in as you lower. So you want tension such that as you hover the upper body, the arms are not coming very far out to the sides, but there is some movement. Breathe out as you reach, lengthen, hover, gather up the shoulder blades, pulling outwards, breathe in as you lower. And again, breathe out, reach, lengthen, hover, breathe in as you lower. And one more time. Wonderful. And lower it down. So let's come on to the side of the body next. In our side plank position. Sinking down into the shoulder and then pushing away. Now, when it comes to the head and neck, lots of people struggle in this position, and the trick is to get your head as vertical as you can, so that, if it is in this position, clearly we are strengthening the muscles on the side of your neck. But if you find that becomes prohibitive, then bringing the head more vertical means gravity is going a bit more down the middle of your head. And it's effectively a lighter load. So pushing out to the ground, breathe out as you lift, breathe in as you lower. And we could cross the hand across the chest just to give a bit more load with the other arm. That's it, good. And come to the top. So we're going to hover the hips with the elbow underneath the shoulder. And then the option to take the leg away. You can have your fingers towards the ground if needed, or the arm alongside you, or the arm up to the ceiling. And then lifting and lowering this top leg. Long and extended from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. So again, you're getting that load on the neck here, aren't you? Have a rest. Come on in. Good job. Up to the heel of the hand. And come on, we'll do a lovely banana shape. So I am really trying to let my head droop more downwards in this case. And breathe out, drooping downwards, breathe in. Push out of the ground, take that load. So, brilliant. One more time. Reach up and over, banana shape, and down. We're swapping sides onto the forearm so that you've got the elbow straight directly underneath the shoulder and across the front of your chest if you want a little extra load. You can have the head a bit more vertical as you do in this, or on the side equally. We're training those neck muscles, aren't we? So down and up. Breathe out and in. Never hold your breath. Try and be in a line. So again, this idea of the head back in line with the back of you and not forwards. So the eyes look straight ahead. You're not looking at your knees, sinking down. Come to the top, and it's lifting the hips, leg away, arm up if you want it, and lift and lower this top leg. So breathe out as you lift, breathe in as you lower. Two more. One more. Very good. Lower it down. Come up to the heel of the hand, making that triangle. So you've got the heel of the hand level with the knee and the hip is the point of the triangle. Fingers off at about 45 degrees, pushing out of the ground. Lift the hips and lower the head. So you're really getting that hanging of the head. And lower the hips. Breathe out, lift up. Breathe in. Lower it down. And last time, breathe out, lift up. And lower it down. So we're coming to lie on the back of the body and have a support underneath the head. Now, having a glossy magazine on top of your head support can help with this next movement of the head. So if you've got a glossy magazine handy, and then if not, when you repeat this, have a glossy magazine underneath your head. So then nodding the chin towards the chest is an opportunity for us to access the deep muscles that stabilize the front of the neck, just like we've got these deep muscles in the front of the spine, the lumbar spine. And so the idea is that we nod the chin towards the chest, about 40 or 50% of the range, and then hold the position. So you nod towards the chin towards the chest. You are sliding the back of your head upwards on that glossy magazine, nodding the chin to the chest. Now, the kicker here is that you don't really want to feel a lot of energy in those sternocleidomastoid muscles, the superficial muscles. We want to feel this movement in the top of the neck, deep in the sort of either side of the front of the voice box. And so if you can feel those muscles move or work as you nod the head. But at the same time, you want to keep the other ones really soft and quiet. So nodding in, hold, count to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax and release. Now you can make that more challenging by introducing the idea of lifting the weight of your head in this position. So we engage the deep neck flexors by nodding the chin to the chest. And then keeping the eye line exactly where it is on the ceiling, lifting the weight of the head. And it might be you don't actually get your head off the ground. It might be that you lift, but no more than 1 centimetre. And all the while you've got this orange under your chin. Lower the head and then release the gaze. So it's really important that when you lift the head, the weight of the head, the neck doesn't give. If the neck gives, it means that those muscles are not working properly. You're potentially straining the neck and your eyes will invariably be looking backwards. So nod the head, the eyes move down on the ceiling. Keep the nod of the head, and then that idea that we can lift the weight of your head just about 1 centimetre off the ground. Keeping hold of your orange. If you lose the orange, you're not strong enough yet in the front of the neck to do that. So that is actually surprisingly difficult. After doing a few of those, just allow the head to roll from side to side. So you're turning your head, look over the shoulder. Very good, wonderful. So let's make our chicken wings next. And I'm going to invite you to slide your arms up along the ground and down. Now, the thing is, as we progress through our lives, things happen to us, don't they? You know, you might have fallen over and broken your wrist at some point. You might have had a frozen shoulder at some point, or even just, well, I say just, I had a skiing accident, so that's what did my shoulders. Some people do kayaking and hurt the shoulders and all manner of things. But what can happen is that movement restriction creeps up on us and we're not aware of it. And for some of us, we've always been this way, and that's fair enough. But what you don't want to get is stiffer with age. So breathe out, sliding the arms up. You should hopefully be able to have the arms in contact with the ground as you do that. And then we're going to add the spine curling away from the ground. So gather the heels, roll the pelvis in towards you, heel the spine all the way to the shoulder blades, and then lower it down. Now remember to take your head support out when you're doing the bridging. So I'm sliding my arms all the way up overhead, come to the top of your bridge and then lower it down. And you'll probably notice that certainly at the top anyway, it's easier for you to have your arms in contact with the ground when you are lifting your spine. As you lower down, we're coming back to that W shape, and that feels pretty much the same, I guess. So breathe out as you reach, breathe in on the return. And make that one more time, the last one, and then lower it down. So let's take the hand weights now, lying on your back. Elbows resting at 90 degrees, and I'm punching one hand up towards the ceiling, and then the other arm. So you're going to now hover one leg to tabletop as you punch, and then same thing on the other side. Punching the ball up towards the ceiling. Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. So you should be able to isolate the movement to the hip and shoulder and the elbow. So the hip moving more than the knee. And make this one the last one. So this time, take the arms up over the shoulders and reach the arms overhead to about 45 degrees and then come back to the vertical. So you don't want to feel like you're going all the way to the ground with this one. The goal is to really notice in the front of your abdominal region a set of springs between the lowest ribs and the pointy part of the pelvis. The arms reaching up overhead should remain straight. bending the elbow is a way of compensating for lack of range at the shoulder. So really resist the temptation to bend the elbow. Very good. So we're going to rest the arms now and give you the option to bring 2 legs into tabletop. And right away, we're going to extend one leg away and then the other leg. Now, if you feel the need for a support, and it is important to use a support to keep the strain out of the front of your neck when we are doing particularly double leg maneuvers. So don't be shy about using a support. And then we're going to send the arms reaching away overhead at the same time. And I've got my palms facing each other so that I'm leading with my thumbs. Breathe out as you reach. Breathe in on the return. So you really feel those tummy muscles working. Breathe out. Breathe in. Slow, precise movements, resisting the temptation to bend the elbow. And breathe out. So we are keeping everything lovely and still. The abdominal contents towards the spine. And as much as possible, keep the front of the neck soft. But we're gently nodding the chin to the chest to activate those deep muscles, the deep stabilizing muscles in the front of the neck. Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. Wonderful. And one more. Very good. Arms to the sides, legs together. Rock the knees from side to side. You can turn the head, look over the shoulder, ease up the neck as well. Perfect. So legs out long, arms reach overhead, and I'm doing the full roll up. If you know this is okay for you, then do it. But we really make sure to nod the chin to the chest before lifting the weight of the head. So in the way that before we were practicing just lifting the head, it's the same process to lift the head as you roll all the way up, restack, inhale, exhale. So rolling the pelvis away from the thighs, lowering the body bit by bit by bit, and keep that nod of the chin until the head is down. So that's keeping the eye line down on the ceiling. And then when your head lands, then you can release towards the vertical if needed. Breathe in, nod the chin to the chest, lift the head, keep the chin nodding, 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 flex forwards, down forwards, and then uncurl, restack. So we're going down one more time, rocking the pelvis away, lower the body bit by bit, arms overhead. Having these hand weights actually can help. So the arms come forwards, nod the chin, lift the head, heel the spine, up and away, and land here at the top. So we're going to do our tricep dips here at the top. Breathe in as you go down, breathe out as you come up. And that's quite a demanding movement for the wrists. Remember not to sink into the shoulders, so you're lifted out of the shoulders. The head is following the movement. And one more. Very good. Cross your legs. Reach the arms forwards. Flex and fold. And come to sit. And curl. Restack the spine. Come into sit, arm at the side of you. Reach up and out of the waist. Soften the shoulder down, away from the ear. Really relax the shoulder. But allow the head to go the way that you're going. Soften the elbow, go the other way. So I see sometimes people leaving the head behind. So if your eyes are vertical, you've left your head behind. Your head on the side. That's it. Go the other way. Head on the side. Take it with you. Take it with you. Soften the elbow. That's it. Very good. Sit up. Reach the arm across the front of you. So when you do this, you are trying to keep the shoulder blade on the back of you. And sit up lovely and tall. And the arm across the front of you. Very good. I'm coming over my knees, tucking the toes, seat to the ceiling, come up to stand. Now I'm hanging my head down so that the top of my head is dangling downwards towards the ground, and then I'm just shaking my head gently, no, but really feel released and relaxed through the neck, and then nod the head, yes, soften the knees, uncurl, restack the spine, reset the shoulder blades, take a big breath in, one big breath in. And as you exhale, grow the head to the ceiling, the tail to the ground, and the arms beside you. So you're going to just quickly revisit the wall and see how that feels. The feet a couple of inches away from the wall and come to stand. That's made a huge difference to me. And I hope it's made a difference to you. Well done.